The Burundian community is still relatively a very small community here in Victoria, but it is a growing community. 20 years ago, you wouldn't find many Burundians, but over the last 10 years or so, there's been a significant increase of members of the Burundian community here in Victoria and in some other places around the country. Here at AMA, we're always interested in highlighting things that are happening in the community, and we thought we would invite some members of the Burundian community to come and talk to us about what is happening in the community. So I have with me today a gentleman by the name of Innocent. Innocent, thank you very much for making yourself available to AMA for this interview. Let me start by asking you to introduce yourself.
My name is Innocent Karabagega. I'm Burundian by birth. Burundi is one of the East African countries, neighboring Rwanda, Congo, Tanzania. I left Burundi late 2010.
Okay, Innocent, tell us a little bit about your journey in Australia. When did you arrive and what has happened since then?
So I came to Australia 2012. Then coming to this promised land, when I reached here, I didn't understand there was many other African communities. But my integration in the community, of course, have been helped by elders ones in the community, and I seek opportunities and I seek help from anyone who is in the country.
Can you tell us a little bit about your community, the Burundian community in Victoria?
Burundian community majority started settling in Australia back 2005, and we brought our own culture in Australia, and we do have community events, parties such as the recent one, which was very lovely, the Burundian Independence Day. Burundi, we got independence from Belgium. It's something brought us unites us and gave us strength to the international community. Now we have the country, we have our own leadership, although we go through struggles, but there's some progress because the young generation is coming up and they're looking to change.
Now, Innocent, you celebrated your Independence Day recently, and I would like to perhaps ask you, how did that go? And can you tell us a bit more about your culture? We see these Burundian drummers in many festivals, and they're just spectacular. Tell us a little bit about some of these things that make you Burundian.
You know, back in the history, when the king had the celebrations, like let's talk about history. Long time we didn't have electronic ways of communication. So, for example, when we have a big party for the king, they play drums, so they know it's a time to grow something in the country, or what the king is supposed to give a particular sermon at a particular period of time. So the drums, we use them in the history through the communication to put people together. And you could see they have Burundian flags, which have a very big meaning to our history. So those drums you see, they are the one we presented to the international community because they brought us together and they still put us together generation to generation.
Now, Innocent, you are a young, ambitious and smart young person with leadership ambition for your community and beyond. How do you see the leadership within your own community and in the broader African Australian community here in Victoria?
First of all, I'd like to thank the elder ones who came early and put African together, and those ones who established our communities. It's something great. The communities now, what I see is we are growing generation in Australia. We need to take it very serious because the families we have, we need to rely on the community leadership. So the way I see now at the moment, we did put two people together, but we don't understand the standard of Australia. So many communities are ruling their own communities based on understanding where they come from, not where they are. For example, I'm coming to the Burundian community. When it was established, to the history, when we look at it, we used to have many community members. But because the leadership is not in the best interest of all, I will use that expression, then some people are withdrawn from the community. Then there is a sense of a younger generation going to get lost. So what I'm looking at is what can we do as Burundians? What can we do as Africans? What can we do as proud Australians to put Africans, Burundians together to ensure we can pass on to the children?
In your experience, Innocent, what are some of the challenges that are affecting African Australian leaders and preventing them perhaps from achieving the best they can for their communities?
I think that is what is not being heard, inter-community issues. Then we need to look at serious elements, whether what we need to put together is what we can share as a country. So, of course, there must be some issues related to poverty, related to war, history we have, tribalism we have back home. We should not bring those ones here. Here we need to bring issues related to employment, education, sports, activities which can help our young members of the community to get busy, to get some opportunities around Australia. So as a community, if we can work in that best interest of future generation, it can help us.
Let me ask you this, Innocent. Do you see any disconnect between the older generations and the newer one, whether in your own community or in the broader African Australian community?
Definitely. We know hide that. That's something I think is being observed in our own families. It's being observed in Australia entire community. We can see we have recently issues related to gangs within our own African communities, where media take opportunities to take advantage of young people who did not do well. I would say we reached to that stage because elder ones were not attached to our youth. So the disconnection, it's because they see us as not successful people here in Australia. Some finished school but did not get a job. Then they are not able to mentor the younger ones. So it's hard to follow your elder one when he's not working in the best interest of the culture where you are. So young ones, they understand the culture. Elder ones, they don't understand the culture. So in my understanding, as older ones, we need to work hard to present the best to the young ones so they can follow us.
Now, what would be some of your own suggestions with regards to how the community leaders should go about in terms of reconnecting with the younger generation?
My recommendation at this stage, I think, based on the generation we have, I think sports. If we can organize inter-community runs every weekend, so Burundians, Congolese, Rwandese, Ugandans, Kenyans, Tanzanians, then we go. I'm just taking the East African community at this stage, but there is many other communities from Africa. Then we go for a run on Saturday, for example. Then young ones, they will come and they participate in activities. The ones who will retire, but they will retire, they have already passed on sports to the young ones in the community. We can look at such as African Night. We can have African Night where we present our culture to Australia. Then the young ones can come and dance. We can do poetry at the entire continent. Then we can look at education. We can put an African body to mentor other Africans. Then young ones, they will be helped by elder ones.
Now, we were talking just before we started this interview, we were talking about the fact that in many of the community groups, people have established organizations, and they have the constitution and other texts that they have put together for the organization, but not many people actually really respect or pay too much attention to those texts once they've been adopted.
It's a very good question, Claude. I would say the importance of a document, first of all. Let's talk as Africans. We come from all culture. We really don't really understand the meaning of written information. See that I think the educated one took advantage of elder ones or people who are not educated, because when you look at the leadership within African communities, we must ask a question such: why do we have leaders who rule the community more than 5 years? Is there a constitution allowing such a community representative or chairman to rule the community for such a long period? It's because, well, number one, the constitution is written in a language where majority as African we don't understand. Number two, people really don't understand that the current leadership within the community, it's what they can use to represent their own country. So, the language which is written, it's not related to the best interest of the community members. It should be given to door by door to each member of the community, regardless color, tribe, or being a member, just to be someone from that country. Then it should be written both in your mother tongue, depends where you come from, so you better understand. And for Australian sake, we should have one Australian document as well, and to ensure it's being given to the community members. But today, as I talk, if you go in the train and meet, for example, Burundian or Congolese or Rwandese, say, can you tell me paragraph 5 in your community constitution? Some of them will tell you, I don't know even have seen that constitution. But when you meet the chairman, they will tell you, yeah, we have a community constitution. But I don't think the community members we do have. Myself, I haven't seen Burundian constitution.
Now, if people are not paying much attention to written communication, so even if you print material and give it to them, it probably won't make much difference, will it?
We really need to have people who understand the legal part or legal structure of Australia, to ensure we do some workshops, seminars to give to our community members, to ensure we tell them what is going on, their rights, who they are, and what the obligation they have under community constitution. So once the community members had those kind of workshops, seminars to understand at least their own constitution, it's hard to understand Australian constitution even when you don't understand your own community constitution. So we need to do some workshops and to ask the government to support the community, to ensure community members are being trained, are being informed, their rights, the obligation they have as a community members. For example, when people get married, when people bring their loved ones, family members from overseas, there is a declaration form where you need a witness to sign. As African, some of them, they go, can you sign here for me? They don't have the capacity to understand that if you give false information that you'll be under particular obligation of a government. So such things which is very common to us, because when they ask you to get someone to give information, we need now to look at what is related to us from immigration or from any other part of case. If a community member commits a crime and is arrested and you are supposed to give evidence in a court, do we as community members understand when we go there to the court that the information we'll be giving to the court is serious information and it's to be recorded, and if we give false information it will be considered as a crime at the end? So we need now to help the communities, first of all, to understand our own constitution, to understand the obligation they have, although when we are together, what is right, what is wrong. 3, to better as well give them hints about the Australia Constitution, because some of us we take citizenship of Australia. Now, recently there was Section 44, for example, come up in the air. A person like you may understand, but I don't know someone else in the community understand. Does it give us intention as African? Do we fit in Australia? Do we have a family member or a community member who's looking to become a parliamentarian in the future? Do we talk about the Australian Constitution? Things like that.
All right. Before we finish this conversation, what would be your message to the African leaders out there?
First of all, I'd like to say hello to all the African communities. and ask them a very simple question. In Africa, each country got heroes. That's how Africa got independence, except Ethiopia, which was not colonized. Now we need to look at Africa and ask the community leaders, are you together? Do you know each other? Or it's the information which is in the air, which is in the space, it's written by a third party which doesn't know what is going on in the African communities. Is there any in Australian history a conference of African leaders? Is there any in the history African leaders trying to introduce such ideas like we need an African school where African culture can be taught? Is there a single day we propose to Australia government to include Africa history in Australia education? Because all states and territories of Australia, I believe, we have Africans there. So the way Australia is teaching about Africa, do we have African teachers who is giving that information to Australia? So I would like to invite the community leaders to come to such questions where we have to look at what is in the best interest of future generations, what is in the best interest of Africans here in Melbourne. What do we need as Africans? Do we present the African culture as it is? Do we ask Australia government what is in the best interest of our future generation? Do we have inclusion? Do we invite other cultures to feel just like I feel travel to Africa? We need to make the best image of Africa, because if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you are, you don't know where you're going.
What about young people? What would be your message to young people in your community and beyond?
The young ones, I'd like to ask them to talk to the parents. This only simple question, whether coming to Australia was an opportunity. And if the parents answer yes, I'd like to tell them to take every opportunity they're given in this promised land. There is everything here in Australia. But what is important, the capital number one, it's your own health and your own status. Why talk about your own health? In Australia, you can eat so much, you can get everything, but if you become, at the end of the day, if you become overweight, or you injure yourself, or you have health-related issues, then your future is very short. But if you become healthy, then you have a long future. Number two, if you commit crimes and you get criminal records, you have no job for the future. Some employers you will not be a potential person to work everywhere. So to explain I'm trying to ask young people within our community to stop committing crimes, because it engages their names and engages their future. But once they can look at every opportunity given around Australia, what is in the best interest of them is to ask for employment, to ask for sports, to ask for better health, and to seek assistance how they can contribute to the entire Australia.
Now, before you go, Innocent, I wouldn't want to let you go without asking you to say something in your language so that your fellow Burundians out there can really confirm that you're one of them and you know what you're talking about.
Abantu bose b'Abarundi ndabakunda cyane, muri abantu beza, mwagize umunsi mukuru wa independence, nukuri waruryoshye cyane. Mwarabonye ko twagize na handshake na Fabrice, umukuru wa community, n'abandi bose. Ni byiza cyane, rimwe na rimwe haraho duba dufise ibyumviro bitandukanye, mugabo tugume twishima, duhere hajya kuri independence, turaba imbere ngene hameze neza, dutegura Burundi hama kazoza kameze neza. Murakoze cyane, aho mugume muri mu gihugu cy'isezerano. Yari isezerano wanyu. Bye.
Okay, that was great, Innocent. I didn't get anything you said there, but you know, I'm assuming it was all good. All right, so until next time, stay blessed.